Hi, this is Todd Geist, and welcome to this video on my favorite GoZync features. We're going to show three features that are sort of at the top of my list, not counting transactions, which is the number one. And I've already done a couple videos on syncing with GoZync and transactions, and there'll be links on this blog post that can take you to those if you're interested. But once we get past transactions, which is awesome, there's three other things that I'd like to talk about that I think are really, really cool in our GoZync framework. So the first thing is that GoZync syncs found sets. So what do I mean by that? Basically, GoZync uses a FileMaker found set to determine what records it sends down to the iPads or the iPhones or vice versa. And because it's using a found set to do that, it doesn't really matter how that found set is generated. You can generate it in any way that you know how, using any FileMaker techniques that you know how. The key thing is that it's pure FileMaker. It's just a FileMaker found set, and how you develop that, how you end up with that found set is really up to you. So we make it possible for you to sync whatever found set that you want to, using any method that you want. The other thing is that we call it CheckIn and CheckOut. That's what I'm calling here as the title. But the second one really is the fact that you have complete control using FileMaker set fields to push data in either direction during that sync. And that'll make a little bit more sense as we go into the demo. But again, because GoZync is 100% pure FileMaker, and we're using set fields to transfer the data back and forth between your server version and your iPad version, you have the ability to get in there and change that. And we provide you some hooks so that you can go in and modify how that sync occurs, set extra fields, change fields, do whatever you want, and still within the transactional sync framework that GoZync provides. So that's pretty darn cool. The last thing I want to talk about is file delivery. GoZync has a built-in file delivery mechanism so that when you develop a new version of your files, you can push it out to all the iPads or iPhones pretty easily. It's built into the framework, so there's a single button that your users can push to check for new versions and to get those new versions installed on their iPads. So we're gonna cover those three things in this demo. Okay, so let's set up this demo and talk a little bit about what we have going on here. This file called Works Demo is the server file, and this file behind it here is the mobile file called Works Mobile. They kind of look the same, but you can see the difference based on that big green, the big green buttons up there that do the syncing. Now we're doing this demo right here on my laptop just to make it easier. One of the cool things about GoZync is you can do a lot of development and debugging right on your laptop and then deploy the files out later and test them on your iPad as a second step. And that makes it so that you can actually use debugger when you're setting up your features, which is kind of nice. So we're going to use that here. So our filtering is set up to only pull down the work orders that are set in the scheduled status and that are set up for today. So when we do our sync, we should only get 4 records. So let's see what happens. So we're syncing, and there we go. You can see we got 4 records back. There they are. And the rest of the 20,000 records were not touched. So we just got those 4. So let's take a look at how that is done. So the GoZync engine lives in GoZync Mobile, and that's where you set up your configurations, or many of them, many of the modifications you want. And we have a folder called, in the GoZync folder called Public, and in there is one called Configuration, and this is where you can modify the sync behavior. And so one of the scripts you're going to use is filter records to sync. Now it's got some instructions here, and I'm going to just scroll down to the meat of it right here, which is we're going to build a separate found set for each table occurrence. So remember I said that GoZync uses a found set. Whatever found set it's on, when it comes time to sync that table occurrence, it has an option to run this script to filter the records for that table occurrence, and whatever found set you leave it on is what it's going to sync. So we have in here an if statement, and you simply create a branch for each table occurrence that you want to filter. Now I've only got 1 in here, but you can add others just using an else if easily enough. We don't need that now, so I'm going to get rid of it. But in this case, what we're looking at is if the table occurrence that we're syncing is work orders, then run this code. And if that code leaves a particular found set, that's the found set that GoZync is going to use to do its to do its syncing. So how are we doing that here? We're just using a simple perform find script step. We've set a variable just above it with the current date, and if we look at the find step, it looks like this. It basically is just saying if the service date is the date we just set, or today, and the status of the work order is set to either scheduled or checked out, and we'll get to why checked out is valid a little bit later, then find it. And if we find it, then sync it. So that is really all that we're doing here. And just to make that point, let's go here and let's just change the date of this till tomorrow. So now this should no longer be caught by the filter. So if we do our sync again, whoops, works mobile, and hit the sync button, there's only 3 records because GoZync is smart enough to know that, hey, you wanted to sync this found set. So since that found set only includes these 3 records, we're going to remove the record from the iPad that doesn't belong. That's not part of that filter. And so now we only get 3. So if we go back here and we change this back to the 24th today, and we go to Works Mobile and Sync, we're going to get that record. I don't think I committed the record there. Let's commit, and let's do the sync. Whoops, yeah, sync, and there we go. So we got our records back. So those are our 4 records. All right. So let's look at how we might want to modify that in a very common way. We might want to modify based on who is logged in to the current file, so that when the person tries to sync, if the server file needs authentication, they'll get asked. The framework's going to try to open the file. That's going to open up the account username and password dialog, and the person logs in, so they're logged into the file. So how do we modify our filter so that it picks up who's logged in? So the first thing is, let's just really quickly, let me just show that in the server version, I am logged in. The account name is set with Todd. All right, so we've been logged in with that name. So now in GoZync Mobile, let's change our filter around to handle that. And so at the very top, we have this little option here, which I'm going to turn on. And we're just going to say, basically all this is doing is making this if statement true, which means we're going to run this script. This script is a perform script in our server file, and all it does is give me the account name. And that's it. So you can see the exit script step simply returns the account name. That's all it does. So now our GoZync Mobile filter script gets back the account name in the script result, and we set that right here to get account name. So now our script knows always who's logged in to that file. And we can use that in a script step. Now I've kind of cheated and pre-created here, but let's just bring it up, and I'm going to enable that. And I'm using a constrained found set to kind of make the point that you can build your found set any way that you like. So in this case, we're going to take the found set that we generated before, which had 4 records, and we're going to constrain the found set by basically, we don't need to, we can just see it right here. GoZync work order staff is equal to the account name, which we just got from the file. So now our filter should include the account name. Now, if we look at this, there, staff has that name. That should pick it up. So if we do in our Works Mobile file, if we do the sync now, we should only get 1 record. And so there we have it. We have that record down. So now we've shown how easy it is to filter records based on any criteria you want, including who happens to be logged into the file. Okay, so I've reset the demo back to where we started. So we have our mobile file here. It's nothing in it yet, no records. We have our scheduled guys ready to go out. I've also, so yeah, it's going to give us all the records that are scheduled for today. That's what the filter is set back to. That's it. So, but what we want to do in this one is we want to actually move the records that are checked out, that have been downloaded, to the checked out status. So part of that has to be, so part of the sync has to include reaching out, grabbing those records, and then telling the server, hey, I got this record. And we're going to do that using using a couple of our hooks that we've added, or one of our hooks that are added to the GoZync framework to allow you to do this kind of thing. So let's take a look. So again, we do that in GoZync Mobile, which is where our engine is. We have another script called Custom Field Mapping, Transformations, and Hooks. And really this follows a very similar model to the filtering, in that you're going to add code to branches that for each table occurrence that you want to add extra processing on. So what this script is good for is it is called after it's done all of the automatic data processing for a given table occurrence and for a given record, and it gives you the option to do something as part of that transaction. So you can really do whatever you want here. In this case, what we're going to do is tell the server, tell the record that we just pulled that, hey, you are checked out. And we do that really simply. I've got the script step disabled here, but let's just enable it and take a look at it. So what this is saying is when we're pulling, and the table occurrence name is the GZH work order, so it's the hosted work orders file, then set the GZH work order status field to checked out. That's it. That's all we have to do. So because this occurs inside of a transaction, if anything should go wrong, then none of this will happen. So we'll never get a scenario where the record is marked checked out when it's not actually checked out onto the iPad, because this is all occurring inside that transaction, and that transaction either commits or reverts in its entirety based on whether or not it actually succeeded. So let's take a look at how that sync happens. So here's my Works Mobile file. So we're going to do that sync, and we're going to get our 4 records. There they are. So they didn't get checked out because I didn't save the records, didn't save the script. So let's save that script. Let's go back here and go to GoZync Mobile. Whoops. Works Mobile, and we're gonna check those out again. We'll just sync, and now let's see what happens. So there they are. They're now checked out. So by doing that, we were able to quite easily, just by setting a field back the other direction. So we're pulling records down, but inside of our hook script, we can set fields back up in the same record that we're pulling and say, hey, I got this record. Everything's cool. So that's what we did there. Now, let's go the other direction. Let's also add a checked-in procedure. So let's say that when the person out in the field is actually done with a work order, they're going to check it as done. And we want that to then check the record back in. And when it gets checked back in, it should it will be removed from the iPad because it's no longer part of the filter. Remember, our filter said only give me records that are scheduled or checked out. Anything that's checked back in, it's no longer part of my found set, so get rid of it. So let's take a look at how we can implement that in our script. So down here in the push action, so we're sending it back up, saying if the table occurrence name is GZM work orders, then run this code, and I've commented it out, but let's enable it again. It says if the work order status is done, then if the work order status on the mobile file is done, then set the work order status on the server file to checked in. That's really all we got to do. So let's watch that in action. Here is our mobile file. Whoops, that's not our mobile file. There is our mobile file. And I have checked in, or I've marked this one done. And let's mark this one done too. Let's leave the other ones not done. And let's just sync and see what happens. So it pulled the 2 records that are not done off and left us with the done records. And if we go up here to checked in, we see those records are now checked in. So we still have these 2 checked out, and these 2 are now checked in. So we call this check-in and check-out. It's a very, very useful feature because now you know which records are where on your application, so you can have different logic. Perhaps you can lock a record based on the fact that it's being checked out. But checked in and checked out is built on top of this very cool feature in GoZync Mobile that we call custom field mapping, transformation, and hooks, which basically lets you do whatever you want inside of that transaction using FileMaker script steps to do whatever you want as part of the synchronization transaction. So that's pretty cool. All right. Okay, so let's set this demo up here. What I've got here is, let's get it running on Reflector here. And I don't want to talk about that. I'm starting over now with another clap. Starting now. Okay. That's actually not what I want to start either. Hang on. I'm such a dumbass. Mirroring. Okay. We're going to keep going, but I'm going to mark it. I'll probably just send this to you cut correctly. Okay, so I'm going to mark. Okay, starting now. Okay, so I want to talk about file delivery. I think it's a really cool feature that we have, and it works so well. It's a little bit difficult to demo actually, because it's kind of like, well, what just happened? But I'm going to try. I'm going to go slowly and talk about the steps that are happening, and we're going to use a pretty simple change that should be fairly obvious. So let's set it up. So here is my dev version of Works Mobile, the mobile file, and here is a copy. This is installed on my iPad mini here, and you can see it on the screen there behind me. These two are currently the same version, but we're going to change this one here, and we're going to upload it to the server, and then we're going to let the iPad check and perform an update and get that all downloaded. So what we're going to use for an update is, I'm just going to make a kind of a garish visual change because it'll be easy to see. So you know, it could be anything. Could be a script change, could be a layout change, whatever. It doesn't matter. But we're just going to use this bright yellow box, and I'm going to move this done down to here, and we'll bring it up to the front. So now if we look at our layouts, we see this is the new version of the file. It's got a big yellow checkbox, a big yellow box around the checkbox here, and the iPad version running here, as you can see, doesn't have that yet. So how do we get that in sync? Well, what we're going to do is run a script called zinc prep and upload new file. And what this does is it runs the prep script in your file. And by the way, this script was imported when you installed GoZync into your solution, and gets it ready to upload to the server. So let's run that and watch what happens. So it brings up a layout in GoZync Mobile that describes what's about to happen. It tells you that we've incremented the build number for the Works Mobile file, and we're about ready to upload it. It also asks in step 2 here if I would like to include a copy of GoZync Mobile, this current copy of GoZync Mobile as well, in the upload. And so why would you want to do that if you change something in the sync engine? If you change the filter, if you changed any of the set fields that we looked at earlier, like in CheckIn and CheckOut. So sometimes you do need to upload a new copy of GoZync Mobile, and so that's what that's for. In this case, we don't need to, so I'm going to uncheck that. I'm just going to upload that guy, and this is happening all here locally on my network, so it's very fast. But there it is. It's now uploaded, so I can get rid of that. And let's bring this guy back up to the forefront. Actually, let's hide all these guys. None of the rest doesn't matter. So this is the iPad I've got running here. So I'm going to press this big button, the green button, check for updates. And let's see what happens. So it says connecting to server. And it says there that there's a new file, a new version of Works Mobile. It's available. Do you want to install it? And I click the install button right there. And it's installing, it tells me. And there's our new version. And you can see that it has the yellow box, and the done has been moved down to here. So the experience is really smooth, both for the developer to create new versions and upload the file, and for the users. All they have to do is click a button that runs a script that checks the server for a new version of the file and automatically installs that version of the file. Now I should point out that if we look at home here, we've only got the one version of our Works Mobile file here, and this is on the device. Let's actually put it on device. There we go. So down at the bottom, Works Mobile. We've only got the one version. There's no copy. There's no copy to, none of that stuff, which is quite common if you're using email to send your files around to people out in the field, or if you're using iTunes, it can get complicated to figure out which is the current version. So with GoZync's file delivery, we actually install right over the top of and remove the old version, replace it with the new version, and all that happens automatically just with the click of a button. So as we saw in the demo, the key thing is that you are in control, is that you have all of your FileMaker skills at your disposal to modify how the sync works. So you can use any found set methods that you want, any way to generate those found sets that you want. You can use set fields as part of that synchronization transaction that occurs to change the data in any way that you want on either mobile side or the server side. And then you also have built into the framework the ability to deliver new files whenever you need to. So that's it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.